Hi everybody, I'm Tabitha and today we're talking about NaNo. So you may have noticed I'm in a different location today. That's because this is the desk with the two monitors where I would prefer to work on my writing projects. This is my favorite place to be, especially if I'm doing beta notes or revisions or editing, because I can have two different screens running, one maybe with the beta notes and one with the draft that I'm editing. But National Novel Writing Month is all about writing a zero draft. So I actually only do some of my writing here at home. A lot of the times for NaNo, I'll actually be out and about with just a laptop that has an internet connection. As you can see from my Twitter feed on Saturday when I was at my son's hockey game and yet also working on writing. This is possible for me because I do write all my zero drafts in Google Drive or Google Docs. Later on, all of my drafts will get transferred to a Word document. That's where I do my formatting, my editing, and all of that stuff, but I do start with my zero drafts in Google Docs. This is not a commercial for them, it's just telling you where I do it. It helps me access it from any document, from anywhere, and all the changes pop up live. So let's talk about what I actually have open or available around me when I'm working on my NaNo project. Part of the reason why I wanted to do this video today is because National Novel Writing Month is a very different way of writing than most of us write, even if you write all the time. I normally don't worry about getting a draft done in a month. I normally don't worry about making sure I write every single day. I just worry about the total word count. So for NaNo, my process changes quite a bit, and yours might too. And if you haven't found a way to successfully do NaNo yet, you might really be struggling with it. So here's what I work on. You already know that I like to work from a full outline. I'll put a little peek of my outline up over here, but obviously I'm not going to show you the entire outline. If you're not familiar with outlining, I do have an outlining video you can watch on the channel where I'll give a little more detail about what I put into my outlines, but you can see that not all the chapters are alike. Some are real short, where some of them are long. These are basically just notes for myself about what needs to happen in that chapter or where I want the story to go. You may have noticed at the very top of this document that this time around my goal was to make the chapters between 1,500 and 2,000 words each. I don't normally have a goal as far as word count for each chapter. I normally let the scene or the outline drive itself. Just make it as many words as it needs to be to make that scene happen. But for this project, I wanted to try to go with something a little more precise and uniform, because those are two words that would really apply to my main character's personality as well. So every day when I get started on my NaNo project, the very first thing I open is this document right here. I review the outline as a couple chapters back from where I was to kind of remind me about what I was working on, and then I read all the notes associated with the chapter for that day. Then, and this is a big difference from when I'm normally writing, I close the outline. It disappears. I don't want the tab open. I don't want the distraction. I don't want to be tempted to go back and make changes to my outline to make the story go in a different direction. I close it because the goal for NaNo is to get that zero draft done. If you're a regular watcher of this channel, you may also know one of my second favorite tools, aside from my outline, is a character chart. I make character charts for every book project that I'm working on. The character chart gets made based off of my outline and my zero draft, and normally it's kind of a living document, and it changes as I go. Here's a little snapshot from this YA and contemporary I'm working on for NaNo, and you can see here that one of the things I added for this particular project was a place to track their friends. That's because this story is a young adult contemporary that takes place at a high school, and as you know, if you've been to high school or are currently at high school, who you hang out with can often have a lot to do with how you spend your day, where you sit at lunch, things like that. So for this book, I'm attempting to try to track who I put them with, what friend group they were associated with as we go. As you can tell, it's not complete, so this is still remaining kind of a working document as I work on my NaNo project. I do keep this one open in the background as I'm writing because I will go and update it. So if I throw in a new character or if I associate them with somebody new, I will go and update this. And this is not the whole chart. I'm excluding parts of the chart where I might have their eye color, their hair color, maybe their height. Maybe I talk about a way that they dress. I give you adjectives other people might use to describe them. Whatever really is appropriate for the project. For my NaNo project, I tend to go back and update this document at the end of every writing session with anything that happened or came up during that day. If you were to scroll all the way to the right on my character chart, you would find what I call the Big Bang questions. These are the 3 questions that I ask about every character, every project. Those questions are, what do they want? What are they willing to do to get what they want? And what are they afraid of? I'm not going to show you my whole chart for every character, and there are a lot of empty boxes right now, but I am going to show you my main character. So this is Becca. As you can see, one of the things, Becca really wants 3 things, but one of the things that Becca wants is to pass all of her classes. Previously, before high school, Becca has been a straight A, maybe an occasional B kind of student. She'd like to keep that up in high school, even though she knows the academics are more rigorous. If you pop to that middle box there, you can see the first thing it says she's willing to do to get what she wants is study hard. She has high expectations for herself, but I'm not sure that she knows what to do beyond that. If you go back to the original box, the second thing Becca says she wants, really it'd be kind of cool, to end freshman year with a boyfriend. And in the middle box, she really doesn't know how to do that either, so maybe she'd be willing to flirt a little? Maybe? The last one that she wants is really what's going to drive most of this story, because I think I mentioned in my last NaNo video that this is a project about toxic friendships. So in the first box over there, you see Becca's last goal is to keep her friends. And here, I think the most telling thing that she's willing to do to get what she wants is that she's willing to do anything to keep those friends. And that makes Becca kind of a prey when you're talking about someone who might be a toxic person to associate with. I'm not sure that it's completely relevant, except that Becca's biggest fear is failure, a trait which she tends to share with me. So those are the big tools that I often want to have open when I'm writing. I have my character chart, I take a peek at my outline, and then of course I open my zero draft. It's going pretty well so far. I've had to cut some chapters off in the middle or go a little further than I wanted in order to keep my NaNo count every day, but I've slow and steady been keeping to that 1,667 words or around there every day. In fact, currently my NaNo project, and today I should mention, is Sunday, even though you're seeing this later. So this count might be different. You can follow me on NaNo where my username is tships to make sure that you know what it's actually at as of Tuesday. But as of right now on Sunday, it is at 17,388 words. Not bad, pretty good start. If you pull up the draft document that I use on Google Drive, according to that document, it's 44 pages right now, which is pretty cool. Also, you might notice, if you're a very detail-oriented person, you might notice this word count is a little bit different. According to this document, I have 17,433 words. That's because on my original draft document, which I still use to update every day for NaNo, I have a start of a synopsis possible for this story at the top. I kind of used that to remind myself what I wanted this book to be about when I started. It's probably going to change lots. I'm terrible at writing a synopsis, and I've just kind of accepted that over the years. But here's the working synopsis that I had when I started. So it says, let's see, it's 1995, and Becca is finally starting high school. Her expectations for school dances, cute boys, and being involved are on high alert. But she never imagined she'd face a year full of lessons on friendship and what it truly means to be a good friend. Like I said, I'll probably end up tweaking that quite a bit because I think the story focuses more on toxic friends and less on good friends. But that's what I was working on. So that's why the word counts don't quite match up. But you'll notice I'm not including the synopsis in my word count overall because it's not part of the draft, and I would find that against the rules for NaNo. And I'm a rule follower. So I've been making pretty good progress so far overall on my NaNo project. Like I mentioned, sometimes I do have to go a little over to get my word count, and that actually happened to me today. So for example, here's where I had to stop today. That's it. That's the whole page right now. So you'll see I had to actually go 2 paragraphs into chapter 10 in order to be able to hit the 1,667 words for my project. This is not something I ever normally do when I sit down to write. It's just another way that NaNo is a little weird. I would normally have called it quits at chapter 9 and been happy with that for today, but because I was trying to hit that over 1,667 words for the day, I had to keep going. That means tomorrow when I pick this up to write, I'm going to have to reread these 2 paragraphs before I can keep going on the outline for chapter 10. As far as writing tools that I like to have around when I'm writing, so things that maybe aren't on the actual computer, water is really the only one that I like to have around. I almost always have a glass of water somewhere nearby so that I don't have to get up and go get one. People are always asking writers what their favorite writing snacks are, and I'm a little weird in that I don't actually like to have food around. My hands, I'm kind of a clean person when I write. I like to have my hands clean so they don't get that slimy feeling when I'm trying to type. And I also like to keep my keyboard clean. So I have water around, but I normally don't have snacks. Normally when I'm writing and I work at my desk, when it's not a zero draft situation, I have lots of other tools available and right here in case I need them. So for example, I have those sticky note flags that you know I use when I'm editing. I have highlighters, which if you watch my editing video, you know are also some of my favorite tools. I even have notebooks and pens laying around in case what I'm working on goes a little flat and I need to change medium in order to get myself moving again. But for Nano, I don't really need any of that nearby. And that's because, like I've already mentioned, Nano is a zero draft. The goal is to get the words on the page. So I tend to push myself through situations where I might otherwise have been stuck or have stopped to do some research. That being said, I have been known to pop open a tab in order to search for my favorite word, color, or emotion that I really, really need to capture what I'm looking for. So I'll drop in the comments 4 of my absolute favorite websites for doing that. One of them is an emotional thesaurus. 2 of them are color description kind of charts. And then the last one is just the thesaurus, just the regular thesaurus that you've all probably used hundreds of times and you probably don't need a link to. But it is something I occasionally use. I do want to mention on my Nano project, since the goal is to get the draft done, if I have to use one of those tools, I will immediately close it to keep myself from being sidetracked and looking for an even more perfect word. Okay, I think that's it for me and what I need when I work on my Nano project. So really, the answer to that is I need me, my outline, my character chart, and a draft. That's it. I keep it real simple for Nano just to try to get those word counts done and close anything that might be distracting or in my way. Drop a comment below to let me know what you like to have around when you Nano. Hit subscribe so you know when I'm back. Keep plotting the path to your dreams, and I will see you next time. Bye!